welcome everyone to the conference call this evening. My name is Armin Morin, and you are on the Big Seminar Preview Series. This is just part of the series that we are doing for the Big Seminar coming up on April 7th, 8th, and 9th in Atlanta, Georgia. This is our 7th Big Seminar. You know, I was just kind of thinking about this earlier as everyone was dialing in. I had mentioned that, we've been doing this 3 years, and actually this is into our 4th year now. It's hard to believe that this is into our 4th year now that we've been doing this big seminar, and we've literally taught thousands upon thousands of people about Internet marketing over the course of that time frame. And, it's just amazing, where we started. I mean, our first event was about 160 people in Dallas, Texas, and if I can say it now, a really bad hotel at what it seemed like at the time. And we've moved up the scale a little bit as far as what we've done, and we've improved upon it, made the experience better for the attendees, and that's our first and foremost thought every time that we do this event. But we've got a great lineup. I mean, for those of you that haven't heard about the Big Seminar before, a brief overview is that my vision was to bring a group of people together for 3 days where I could bring the best and brightest minds in the world of marketing, Internet marketing, offline marketing, and just generic marketing, and have them teach you for 3 days what they know. You see, my belief is plain and simple, and that is that I believe that you can become successful faster now than ever before in history, and the way that happens is simply this: by taking advantage of what people know already and building upon that. And that's the shortcut to success, in my opinion, is just taking advantage of what people know already and building your success upon them. You see, back in the days of 10 years ago when I first got started on the Internet, we didn't have the ability to do this because there wasn't anyone that we knew that knew how to do this stuff. Well, now it's a little bit different. Now information is more widely spread. The Internet has grown beyond what anyone ever imagined 10 years ago. And we have the ability to bring people together in this fashion. We've done this for the last 7 years. And we've had some great minds walk across our stage, which we've been very fortunate about. I've had the opportunity to meet and work with some great people. And, this particular event that we're having in Atlanta, Georgia on April 7th, 8th, and 9th is going to be huge. We're talking about 700 people that are going to, 500 people are going to be there. And we're going to go ahead and tell you just a few of those people. I'm just going to just tell you some highlights. I don't want to go over everybody because we want to talk with Dave as much as we can this evening. But just to kind of mention a couple of people that are going to be there. Yannick Silver is going to be there. Many of you know Yannick Silver. He has worked with just numerous people online, helped literally tens of thousands of people all over the world build their successful online businesses, and Yannick's going to be at the Big Seminar. We've had Yannick previously. I have asked him to come back, and Yannick said yes, so that's a great thing. We have Declan Dunn. Now, Declan, I consider myself being online for a long time, 10 years now, and I'm one of the, as far as the Internet goes, one of the old guys out there on the Internet. But the fact is that Declan, makes me look like chump change. I don't know how long Declan's been online, but he's been online for years and years, much longer than I have. And I have the techniques that Declan was talking about 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago are actually now just coming to fruition in many people's businesses. And that's what I've always admired about Declan is how much he can see into the future. And Declan has played in a different game, a different world, a different league than many people have played in. And what I mean by that is that he has worked with some of the biggest companies in the world, such as American Express, such as MyPoints.com, just huge companies, and he has handled their online marketing for them. And he's also worked with people of the, I hate to say this because it sounds a little demeaning, of the normal everyday stature, people like ourselves. And Declan has just some amazing results. And what he's going to talk about at the Big Seminar, I had the opportunity to spend some time with Declan about 2 weeks ago. We spent the day together out in San Diego, and he was telling me all about what he's doing right now. It's just amazing, the techniques that he's going to be doing. He's going to be telling everyone about them. He's going to be showing you his strategies that are unlike anyone's I've ever seen. And Declan is just a madman when it comes to marketing. So you can look forward to seeing Declan there. We have Mike Filsane. Many of you know Mike. Mike has built an opt-in list of over 325,000 people over the years. He has also did over $1 million in 5 days just a few short weeks ago. And Mike's going to be talking about butterfly marketing. And when you see this, it's going to be amazing. But, when it comes to marketing, especially when it comes to viral marketing, there's really only one name comes to mind, and that is Morgan Westerman. And, Morgan has had over imagine having this. a website that has brought in over 40 million people across their web pages over the last few years, and that's what Morgan has. If you go to Google right now and you type in the words God, G-O-D, very simple. Obviously, as many of you can guess, it's a very popular term. Well, Morgan owns the #1 site and #1 listing under God, at least the last time I checked, unless that's changed in the last day or two. But he has created this viral marketing technique, and he can explain to you how you can do it too. So, again, Morgan's going to be there. We've got Mike Stewart going to be talking about infomercials. We've got Craig Perrine, Stephen Pierce, myself, Alex Mondosian. We have T. Harv Ecker that's going to be there. Again, Harv's always a great person to have at an event. And we have our guest this evening, Dave Lakhani. Before we get into Dave, again, one more thing I want to mention is this. What I decided to do, I want to do something different, and on this particular event, we have 3 different things. I had actually, I put together this package. It was just amazing, and that's actually, and some of it's ending this weekend. For example, those of you that live out in the West Coast, if you go ahead and register your seat for the big seminar right now, you can get access not only to my event, Big Seminar itself, but I'm also going to give you for free as a bonus is Stu McLaren's Idea Incubator Seminar. That's being held this weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday out in Anaheim, California. And so if you can make it out there, that's definitely a reason why you should register your seat today. If not, if you're going to miss that and if you live out on the West Coast or if you want to fly out to the West Coast for this, Mark Victor Hansen is a friend of mine. His office called me up and allowed me, I worked this deal out, where you can actually get a seat to Mark's Mega Marketing Magic Seminar as well, too. I will give you a free seat to Mark's event as well, too. Mark Victor Hansen, co-author of Chicken Soup that sold to over 100 million copies. That event is on 3rd, 4th, and 5th of March. You can come to Mark's event for free as well, too. Now, those are 2 events you get as bonuses just for registering your seat with the big seminar. But that wasn't enough because what I want to do is I want to do this. I'm doing some testing. I'm testing right now, and I'm going to tell you what the test is all about, and I want to see how well this works, and I'm going to be straightforward and honest with you about this. We're testing a way to find out how people react on seminars. And so I'm going to throw out an offer this evening, and I'm going to see how well you react to it. If you are thinking about coming to the big seminar, I'm going to make a special offer this evening. I have 5 books, 5 courses, 5 complete courses that I have not released to the public. And I have spent over, actually I believe it's over $4,000 at this point, putting all of this together. I have not released it out to the public. I do not sell this online. And there's very few people that actually have this in their hand. There's only about 200 people in the world that have these. These are actually 5 courses, one on internet marketing, one on ebook marketing, one on e-zine marketing, one on membership sites, and one on internet marketing in general. That's over 1,000-plus pages of information that we've compiled, put together, modified in order to create these products. I've never released this before. We're getting ready to sell each one of these manuals, each one of these courses for $397 each. And you can actually get your hands on those by simply going to bigseminar.com, clicking at the bottom of the page and registering your seat this evening. Go ahead and do that, and I'm going to send you those. And I'm not going to send you those physical version of it. I'm going to send you the digital version of those products tonight. As soon as you register, I'm going to send you over those throughout the day. And so immediately after we receive your order, you're going to be sent those later on this evening, and you're going to get all those courses, 5 courses, over 1,000-plus pages that I've never released information. That's just going to be amazing. It's going to explode your business, and I'm telling you, this is an amazing bonus. So, yeah, I'm testing it right now. It's over $1,000-plus of bonus, 1,000-plus pages. You get access to that tonight. Not only all the bonuses we offer at the Big Seminar page, but this extra bonus, and this is only available till 12 noon tomorrow. So, again, if you want to get those courses, which I may not offer, again, if you've already registered your seat for the seminar, guess what? I'm going to give them to you automatically as well, too. So don't worry about that. I'm going to make sure you guys are taken care of. But if you haven't registered your seat, I'm going to make this offer one time between now and the rest of the year. That's it. And I'll never offer it again. So, again, these 5 unreleased courses I have, over 1,000-plus pages, you get just for an addition to everything else that I'm offering you to come to the big seminar. So, again, I'm just going to throw that out there. So now, if you want to come to the big seminar, this is a good reason to. Plus, the other reason I need to tell you to register your seat now is because there is a limit on the hotel rooms that we have in the big seminar, and it would be ashamed that you have to stay at someone else's hotel and not stay at the same hotel that we're having the event in, because Atlanta is having a citywide event that weekend. So you need to register your seat immediately in order to make sure that you stay in the same hotel. That's the God's honest truth. You can call the hotel and you can find out yourself. But again, register your seat. That's my main importance for you this evening. So, but with that, let's get back to business here and let's get talking to Dave. And Dave, first of all, welcome to the call this evening.
Thanks, Armin. It's great to be here. I hope people were really paying attention to what you just said and did, because you just gave them a clue of one of the best-kept marketing secrets, really, and the most underused marketing secrets, online or offline, that anybody can use, and that's testing. And the offer that you made is unbelievable. I hope people really recognize that and take advantage of it, because I've never heard you make that kind of an offer before.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a tremendous offer, and again, it's what makes a great offer to me, Dave?
What's that?
Is an offer that's absolutely true.
You're right. You're absolutely right. That's a good point, Armin. I hadn't really thought about that till you just said it. But so many people make offers that seem almost bizarrely untrue. They offer too much almost. And it just doesn't. It loses credibility. But I was sitting there listening to you kind of drop names, and I was thinking I was going to call you a name dropper, and I realized you're not a name dropper. You're more like a mind bomber. I mean, you bring so many people to this event, and these are not people that are, the lightweights of marketing, or, the person that's, new to the game. These are people that have made millions, and I would dare to say probably billions of dollars if you combined everybody's money online.
Sure.
And then you go out and get Mark Victor Hansen, you go out and get Stu McLaren, and send people to their seminars too. It's unbelievable. I can tell you this. I had a traditional offline business until shortly before we met.
Yeah.
And I had made a decision to turn my business from offline to an online business primarily. And when I made that decision, I kept hearing about Big Seminar, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do this. And finally I did. And I'll tell you this. I gave myself a 2-year plan to make the transition, because I was a traditional business person with a traditional business model. Gave myself a 2-year plan. I did it in under a year, and it all started with the first Big Seminar that I went to, because of the people you put there and the level of information that you give. I got so much information off teleseminars that you did ahead of time, like this one, that it was unbelievable. But that's enough about me. I want to give people a ton of content tonight. So
okay, well let's do this. What I want to do is I kind of want to get I know a lot of people on this call already know who you are, but there's a number of people on here that may not know exactly who you are. So I want to kind of give them a little bit of a background about you, who you are, and because you got to I have to say this from and I know you didn't plan this, but from a marketing standpoint, you've got a great story.
It hasn't hurt me, and that's interesting that you'd say that, though, because I'm going to teach people how to package themselves and how to use at Big Seminar, and I'm going to teach them how to use things like the myth model to spread information about themselves that penetrates every corner of the internet and every corner of the media, so that they can get tremendous amounts of traffic and buying customers.
Now you tell us a little bit about your history, just kind of fill people in a little bit.
Sure. A lot of people have heard this story before, so I'll keep it a little bit short. But I was raised in a cult, and it was a very strict cult that believed in this being the end time. They believed in an end-time prophet named William Branham. They believed only 144,000 people could go to heaven. They didn't believe in education for men or women past the 7th grade. They didn't believe in women having any ability to control their destiny, so they couldn't wear pants, they couldn't cut their hair, they couldn't wear makeup. You had to go to church 5 to 7 times a week. You had to, at the end of the year, pray that on December 31st, January 1st would come. Not knowing at the time when I was a child that the world wasn't falling off in time zones. I just assumed that it was my job in this time zone to make sure that it never happened. And so you'd pray for 7 or 8 hours. And this went on for a long time. My mom kept us in this cult. I finally left before my mom did when I was in my late teens. And when I left, they made me come to church one last time for a prayer. And they stood over me and prayed that God would turn my soul over to Satan for the destruction of my flesh, and that I would either come crawling back to them or be destroyed and go to hell. And, a couple times in my life, Armin, I got to tell you, I thought maybe the prayer was working.
Right.
But, ultimately, it didn't, and I'm here now. But something else fairly dramatic happened to me, too. My mom passed away in 1999, and she was out of the cult by then, but still kind of drawn back all the time. And we'd been having a conversation about it, and she died fairly unexpectedly. And as a result, when somebody close to you dies, you kind of just you rethink every conversation you had.
Sure.
In the time before that. And one of the conversations we had was about what she really wanted and what brought her to that place and what kept her still thinking that maybe she had made the worst decision she ever had. And the conclusion that I came to was that it was salvation. That's what she was looking for. And that's ultimately what customers are looking for. At last Big Seminar, I talked a lot about that. and how customers are looking for that salvation that you can offer them, that everybody on this call can offer them. When they come to your site, they're looking for something. These are not people, when they get to your site, who just by happenstance ended up there. These are people who are seeking and searching and looking for someone to lead them. And so that's exactly what we're going to talk about. We're going to show you how to create such a powerful and compelling story that people have to pay attention to who you are. And it's the way to develop a story so that it has hooks in it that pull people in and pull them into you so closely that you almost create a very ethical and positive cult of followers and believers who buy your products and services over and over again.
And that's the thing is that I think one of the key pieces of information that you just said is you create a group of people that buy your products and services over and over again, where a lot of people are in the business of what I call event product sales.
Right.
Meaning that they sell the product one time and then they really very rarely go back to those customers. I was talking with a guy the other day. He has a list, and most people's biggest problem is developing their list. Well, this guy didn't have a problem with developing a list. He had 425,000 people on his list.
Wow.
The problem was that he never marketed to them.
You're kidding me.
No. I mean, I'm like, well, send them over to me. I'll tell you what to do with them.
Right.
And, I'll take care of that for you if that's a problem for you. But a lot of those people, he got the names one time off of an offer that he did and never did anything else with them ever.
Wow.
And so that list, I mean, I would dare to say if you sent an email to that list, you'd probably get spam complaints beyond belief because of the fact that he hasn't communicated with those people. Right. Now, Dave, I know you recently wrote a book on persuasion.
Yeah, it's called Persuasion, The Art of Getting What You Want.
The Art of Getting What You Want. And many times, I mean, and I'm going to kind of parlay this into between this and your PR strategies that you do, but the persuasion, I mean, everything that we do in business, it requires persuasion. Am I right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Not just business, but in life, Armand. I mean,
sure.
It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you want to get a better deal, if you want to get a better spouse, if you want to get a better if you want to get a better car, whatever it is, I mean, it's all persuasion. And in business, it certainly is because you're constantly negotiating. And customers have now been trained and socially conditioned to negotiate with you the minute they walk up to your door, or sometimes even when they get to your website, which there are a lot of things that you teach people how to do to even address that negotiation and that preemptively and persuasively.
In online, a lot of people believe, well, persuasion, that can really only happen offline. You have to be face-to-face in order to persuade the person.
And that's just not true. The interesting thing about it is that we're persuaded daily. We're persuaded by what the media tells us. We're persuaded by the opinions that our friends share with us. I mean, Armand, have you ever gotten an email from someone who said, "Hey, Armand, you've got to check out the Blue Man Group next time you're in Vegas. They're the greatest act there," and you can't wait until the next time you get to Vegas, and then you go and check them out.
Yeah.
Just because, and that's persuasion. There's also many other opportunities to persuade people: the emails that you send, the media releases that you do. But if you look at all of the opportunities for us to be persuaded online on a daily basis, it's almost nonstop. I mean, there's so many opportunities for people to develop a powerful story that people engage with, and ultimately that they become involved in and see themselves a part of, that allows them to easily be persuaded and to do whatever it is that's in their own best interest. Because persuasion really is doing nothing more than leading people to their own most logical conclusion, which happens to be one you share.
Now, when I know one of the methods that you're going to be teaching people at the big seminar is the use of PR. And PR, what we're really trying to do is persuade the public to take an action, which is it may be visiting a website, it may be coming to an event, it may be going to a store and picking up a product or service that you may be selling.
That's exactly right. And one of the big and still kind of wide open opportunities on the internet in terms of traffic is using PR to drive tremendous traffic to your website. I mean, if we take a look at the possibilities, you can literally drive thousands of visitors to your site in a single day, many times in just a few hours. I'll tell you this: the last time I did an online media release, looking at the number of views of the release, I had over 36,000 views in under 12 hours.
Amazing.
That's a lot of views. I mean, wouldn't you agree that anywhere online you could get 36,000 people to take a look at something? That's pretty powerful.
Oh, I mean, I would say it's more than powerful. I mean, It's absolutely amazing because, most people work to get 36,000 views all year long.
Right.
This
is 36,000 unique views in under 24 hours.
See, that's shocking. And see, this is something I think that is so important here, David, because of the fact that, you see, a lot of people in this particular market, I bet you many people on this call have not even considered using any kind of PR strategy. And
go ahead.
And I just want to throw this in because I just want to be clear to everyone. When we're talking about PR and we're talking about press releases or anything else, and PR is much more than just press releases, first of all, and we'll talk to Dave more about that in a moment. But it's not, when I use the words PR, I'm not referring to using a software program to generate press releases in order to get search engine rankings. That's not what
that doesn't work really that well anymore.
Yeah, that doesn't work, and the fact is that, what Dave is going to be talking about is totally different. So I want you to pay attention because big companies, I'm under this unique impression that big companies have a method in which they do business, and if you want to be a big company, you have to use those same techniques. And PR is one of the strategies that all big and major companies use. So you need to pay close attention to what Dave's going to talk about here, because if you're not using PR in the proper way right now, you need to start, because that's where you're going to get the biggest benefit, the biggest bang for the buck in 2006, and so pay close attention here.
Right. Now, the interesting thing about using PR is, Armin, that PR serves two purposes online. Offline PR only serves one and a half purposes, if you will. Offline PR, the only object is to get magazines, newspapers, radio stations, television stations to cover you. And if you get them to then ultimately translate that story onto their website, and then if you get them to ultimately link back to your site, you might get some traffic to it. You may get some type-in traffic. And if it's on a big show, don't get me wrong. If you're on the Today Show, if you're on the evening news or CBS Morning News on Sunday, you're going to get traffic to your site because people will listen to you. They'll do searches on Google and those kind of things, and they'll find you. That's very powerful. And it's good because it gets you a different kind of exposure. But you really can't get that kind of predictable traffic back online. Online PR gets the benefit of all of the offline stuff that we're talking about, plus a very predictable, methodical way of getting traffic directed directly to your site. And here's one of the best things about it, Armin. This will blow you away. You can literally, for keywords, there's a lot of people, and so pick a high dollar value Google keyword, something like mortgages or
Sure.
something like that, where people are literally paying $10 or more a click sometimes for these. And you can get those clicks for pennies. And when I say pennies, I mean under a nickel.
Right.
When you're using online PR. And so it's insane not to use this strategy to drive traffic to your site as fast as you can and reduce your overall cost of doing business, because there's really, one of the big ways that big companies always look at improving their profitability is what? Cutting costs, right?
Sure.
So the best way to cut costs online is to reduce your cost of acquisition per customer, and you can use PR to do that. The good thing that you'll do, too, is you'll develop a following. See, people learn about you. People inherently trust the news more than they do an advertisement or anything else. If someone is talking about something in the news, we've been socially conditioned to understand that this must be the truth. Now, logically, we know that that's not always the case. We know that sometimes reporters get it wrong, news stories get it wrong, online gets it wrong, but that doesn't really matter because we're socially conditioned to accept it as the truth. And so we take some action, and as long as nothing dissuades us or disproves what was said as being the truth, we continue to take that action. And the more we see it in more different places where we're exposed to this information over and over again, the more likely we are to not only just buy, but ultimately buy and buy again.
So what we're really doing is to our marketplace and to the people that are looking at our marketplaces is we are giving them essentially proof.
Right.
We're saying
social proof. If you follow Robert Cialdini, it's social proof that you're giving them.
Yeah, because if they hear it once, it may be good. If they hear it twice, maybe better. But all of a sudden, if you turn around and you see it, you happen to be in Yahoo, and all of a sudden you see it on Yahoo, then it's got to be good.
Right.
Or else Yahoo wouldn't put it up there.
That's exactly right. And you can get into Yahoo every single day if you want to. Now, here's another unique use of PR online. If you have a website that has a low Google page rank or no Google page rank, one of the fastest ways to get it indexed by Google and other search engines is to use online PR.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've done that.
Right.
And
most people don't, though. It's a tool that they don't use, and I'll tell you why, Armin. It's not their fault, but they just really don't understand it because they have a perception. I mean, if you go to the bookstore today and you go to the PR section of the business books and you look at PR books, try and pick out the book that says this is how you do PR online.
Right.
It just doesn't exist. And even if it does exist, it's a chapter inside of a book that talks about submitting news releases to certain sites or submitting your news releases to blogs or to online easing sites and those kinds of things. And that's such a small fraction of what you can do that it just isn't even it just doesn't even really come to the point of being helpful. Now, there's something else that I'm probably not going to have time to get into on this call, but something that I've been testing. Well, there's two things that I'm going to demonstrate to people. Number one, I'm going to have a couple of case studies, live case studies that I use beginning after my talk on this call to drive people into coming to Big Seminar. So I'm going to use web PR to drive people to sign up to come to Big Seminar. And I know I'm going to be very effective at it, so if people haven't signed up, now's a good time because I know you're limiting how many people can come.
Right.
But the second thing is that there's a tremendous opportunity related to Google AdSense for those people who run AdSense campaigns and who are making money from AdSense. There's a tremendous opportunity with web PR that I haven't even shared this with you.
Right.
And because we just haven't had a chance to talk about it, not that I wouldn't, but there's a tremendous opportunity using web PR to make a great deal of money with AdSense. And it's very simple. Not only do you drive predictable traffic, but you have almost a virtually unlimited source of articles that will ultimately turn into AdSense pages for you. And I'm going to demonstrate how to do that as well.
You know, that concept is, you mentioned it, and I'm like, I'm envisioning all these different things. You know, and I know a little bit. You know, I don't know a whole lot about PR, but I know a little bit, probably a little bit more than the average person.
I would say.
And I'm thinking, holy crap! I mean, I'm thinking that I'm thinking the whole process through, and I'm thinking,
right.
Okay.
You understand it instantly, right?
Yeah. I'm thinking I have a good idea of what you're talking about, and I'm like, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant as to how that can be done. And like you said, it's predictable.
Right.
And that is the beauty of this. And that, I mean, I personally can't wait to see that because, that's actually, you talk about arbitrage, if you want to call it that.
Exactly.
That can be absolutely huge in doing it. So yeah, I'm curious myself just to see your results because this is something everyone. Many people know I'm a big AdSense advocate. I've made tons of money. I've made well over 7 figures with Google AdSense, and I've done quite well using various techniques, but PR hasn't been one of them. And I'm always looking for ways. I mean, the search engines are constantly changing, and that's another subject, Dave. Let's just kind of talk about that. With PR, you're not dependent on the search engines.
You're not, and yet here's something that's kind of interesting, Armin, that the search engines are dependent on you because what is the one thing that search engines are always looking for? Content and new information, right?
Right.
And so press releases rank very high in the new content area. It's an opportunity for you to constantly have fresh information that keeps your site viable, and it's coming from, again, trusted sources that Google, Yahoo, Ask Jeeves, and all of the other search engines look at as resources. So it's a great opportunity for you. The other interesting thing that you can do is that you can tie into very current events by creating the right kinds of media releases and the right kinds of stories. You can tie into exactly the kinds of things that people are actively searching for on the internet right now, tie that back to your product, and literally double or triple the kind of response you would get from, let's just say, an AdWords campaign. And
that's really interesting, and I just want to talk about a small campaign that I did relating to PR, and I have this friend of mine, and let's just call him Michael, and he's promoting a new album, and the new album was titled when we did this press campaign on him, what we did is the headline for the press release was, "Can Michael Lee Austin compete with Kenny Chesney?"
And Kenny Chesney would get thousands of searches.
Absolutely, and what happened was it was even more heavily at this particular time because Kenny Chesney was releasing a brand new album at this time. And so we put it out there, one of the most successful campaigns that we did, because we tied it into this campaign. For example, anytime a major artist, a major star, celebrity is on TV, on a talk show, I know this is that the searches for their names go up on the Internet.
Mm-hmm.
And at this particular week, he was on 7 different talk shows. And, as a result, tons of people from all over the world typed in his name. And what did you think they found when they found the news? They found Can Michael Lee Austin compete with Kenny Chesney. We benefited. We built a mailing list off of that, just that one campaign, which worked out fantastic for us. But just like you're saying, we happened to tie that into a major event. He was releasing an album that did, 2 million sales the first week.
Mm-hmm.
It was ridiculous, and he was on all these talk shows. We tied in with a major celebrity that was receiving major press. But there's tons of other things. I mean, that's just one example, certainly.
Sure.
But there's all kinds of things just spun just a little differently. I mean, wouldn't you think?
Right. It doesn't matter what your topic is. It doesn't matter what your business is. There's always very relevant and key information in any industry on any given day. There's breaking information. There's cutting edge information that's coming out. There's shocking information that's coming out, and you can take any of that and tie it back into what you're doing in order to take advantage not only of the traffic but also of the media interest in that topic at the time. See, because when we talk about online PR, we don't want to forget that ultimately the ideal situation is that you also get offline PR, that you get picked up by newspapers, magazines, radio, and television to talk to you about what you're doing. Because then, like you were saying earlier, Armand, when you hear about it in several different venues, it ultimately makes you believe that what's happening is actually something that you should be involved in. It's social proof. And the other thing that it is, especially when you get offline media and the traditional media, it's a third-party endorsement of what you're doing. Now, let me give you an example of something else. I had a small mention in USA Today about my book. My book at the time on Amazon, my rank was right around 9,700 or something like that. I got this small mention, and my book rank shot up over a period of about 6 hours to under 100, around 87 or 89, I don't remember, 87 or 89, just from a small mention.
Wow.
Now, for book sales, that's good. That's
huge.
really good. That means you're selling about, at number 80, you're probably selling 10, 12 books an hour on Amazon.
Right.
Which isn't too bad. That's anybody who's an author likes to see their books under 1,000 because that means you're doing really well and people are paying attention to your book, considering that Amazon has something like 3 million books on their site.
Right.
So, those kinds of things can be very powerful. You have to look at what's going to happen. But here's the interesting thing, too. See, when you get offline media combined with online media, the offline media is very incestuous, if you will. Once somebody reports a story, everybody wants to report the story.
Right.
So it gets spread through the AP. Well, guess what happens online as well? Just like with the Kenny Chesney story, as soon as somebody reads it, well, then they start reporting it in blogs. They start reporting it in e-zines. They start putting it on their websites. They start linking back to your site. And when they link back to your site after you've had some article that's been written about you or that's being covered heavily on the Internet, what's happening? You're getting all these links back to your site, which count towards Google PageRank, which count towards the validity of your site and search engines better index. And no matter what happens, unless the search engines just decide to stop giving credit to new, fresh content, which doesn't seem very likely anytime in the near future, media releases are always going to be a powerful tool. If you don't learn how to use these appropriately and harness them for your best effort, you just won't be as effective as you can be. And I'm going to show people stuff that they can do, Armand, literally, that if they don't go do it that night, after they hear me talk, if they don't go back up to the room, get out their PC, spend an hour to an hour and a half implementing these things right then they're not serious about making money on the Internet.
Right. This is just amazing, with PR, what can happen, and because everyone knows this, that first of all, if you opened up a new store, and again, let's talk offline. If you open up a new store offline, the first thing that you should do is advertise that store.
Right.
And usually it's in newspapers. Usually it's in any place that you can afford to advertise. You try to get the word out. And online, for some reason, people believe that there's only 1, 2, maybe 3 methods in order to drive traffic to a website, and they never ever talk about PR. It's amazing, Dave. I've been online now. This is my 10th year on the Internet, and it was only until last year that really anyone really talked about PR strategies for online marketers.
Right. People just didn't understand it, because if you look at, because most of the PR information offline happens in big New York agencies or Chicago agencies or LA agencies, and they're not, they still, every morning when they wake up, they look at Time, they look at Playboy, they look at Today, they look at, the CBS Morning News, they look at, Howard Stern, they look at Bob and Tom, and they look at all of these places as media outlets, Rush Limbaugh, and they say, okay, these are the places that we have to focus on first.
Right.
To them, the Internet's still non-existent. And so they haven't even gotten around to figuring this stuff out. I get calls every day from traditional PR companies now saying, Dave, can you teach us how to do this?
Right.
And it's because they now have recognized that they're just getting killed by people online who are swooping and getting not only coverage but tremendous traffic that's making them more money, that's making them more visible, and making them more desirable to the consumers. See, that third-party endorsement is everything. Whether you endorse them or I endorse them, or the CBS News endorses someone by putting something on their website about you, the third-party endorsement is very powerful because we can suspend disbelief without critical thinking when we see somebody else making somebody else that we believe and trust making the recommendation. We just don't have to think about it. And let's face it, most people are fairly lazy. They don't want to have to think about those things. I mean, we have to make enough decisions in a day about whether people are honest, whether the information we're getting is correct, that if we can just take some information and we can trust it and feel good about it, we don't think about it. We just take action. And that's another thing that PR does.
And taking action is certainly key. That's a certain result that we want people to take when we, whenever we put out any kind of media press release or simply, any kind of advertising that we put out.
Right.
And, is to get that action, whatever that action may be. And, one of the things, regarding instantly, and again, I'm going to ask you a question because I'm not even sure of this myself, but, every time people talk about PR, I mean, they're only talking about one thing, and that is a press release.
Right.
I mean, are there other forms of PR that we should know about?
There's actually, it was funny when you said, that people never look at PR as a tool of getting traffic. There's really literally probably about a dozen tools that are grouped in the PR frame that are all tools that you can use. So let me just give you an example. Blogging is a powerful PR tool, and one of the things that I'm going to be teaching is how to use the myth model. The myth model is a very specific way of creating stories that make them viral and have to continue to be told. Many times people think myths are lies. They equate myths with lies, but myths are not lies. Myths are simply people's best explanation at the time of the events around them,
right.
And being able to give some credence to them and some description that they can pass on. And the lessons are easy to understand. So when that exists and you build stories in that way, people want to pass them on. They share them and they spread around the internet virally. They spread through blogs. They spread through email. They spread through things like the Jib Jab is a good example of it. They've created these different little vignettes every time. I just saw one the other day. It wasn't Jib Jab that did it, but similar of Vice President Cheney shooting a guy, and it was made in the theme of Wedding Crashers. So
right.
these are but you use these things and that you start to get known for something. See, and so as you create these stories and as you place them, it draws more traffic because people are reporting on them. You can also use podcasts. You can also in addition to podcasts, you can use online radio outlets. You can create your own kind of publicity from the stories that you create and the stories that you report on your own site. You could create a news site related just to your industry and related to what you're selling that reports nothing but the news that's relevant to people buying from you. I want to say that again because it's really important. You could create a site that does nothing but report the news that's relevant and supports buying from you. So, for example, if I decided I wanted to sell BMWs, I would only have positive, good BMW news being sent to my site all the time.
Right.
And so when people search for this, they're finding all this BMW information, and conveniently, all of the links drive right back to my site where you can buy a BMW, where you can get all the information that you need about them.
Right.
There's so many tools inside of PR that people can be using. The other thing that people don't think about as PR, but that's very true, is creating offline street teams for PR, getting people to talk about your products and your services. Now, where this is most common right now, and it's hotly contested, I'll tell you that, but it's in the music industry. They'll hire beautiful women that are in their late teens, early 20s to go stand in popular music stores like in Manhattan and places like that, and look at certain CDs and then recommend that people buy them. You know, they'll tell the guys that come in, hey, look, you got to get this CD. It's so good. And it starts spreading the word. Street teams can be very powerful because these people have high credibility. Well, guess what happens if your street team also happens to be giving out something that has your website on it again? People are finding out about it. People think about PR only in the fact that they're using a media release or that they're talking to somebody in the media. But let me just give you another example. Everybody on this call tonight had an opportunity to spread the word about their business using public relations. When you ask everybody to say, you know, what's your name, where are you from, it would have been just as easy to say, my name is Dave Lakhani, boldapproach.com, Boise, Idaho.
Right.
But people don't. Most people, half the people are too shy to even say their name.
Sure.
But if they would have just said, hey, boldapproach.com, I guarantee you with as many people on this call that there are, somebody would have been sitting there on their browser and they would have said, you know what, I've heard some of this that Dave said before, I'm just going to go look at boldapproach.com. Boom, they'd go there and look.
Right.
Well, that's another form of PR. It's another way of getting traffic. You have to think of public relations as, how am I getting the word of my business to as many people as possible in the most credible way as possible that gets them to come back to me on a regular basis and spend time on my site. And that's exactly what I'm going to show them. Not only that, I'm going to show them a million techniques for tracking this information, testing this information, how to get the media to proactively call them, the 7 things that they absolutely need to do with their media releases in order to get them not only picked up, but get them to stay active in the search engines for a long time after they've been placed so that people continue to get this information, how to create stories that spread virally and stick, and a number of different things that create PR.
You know, it's just amazing. You know, I had the chance to. I haven't talked to you this past week, but you know, I just had this opportunity in the past. Actually, last week on Wednesday and Thursday of last week to experience something that a few people got a chance to experience. I was in Nashville doing some business down there, and I had interviews set up for me. There was all kinds of radio stations there, and I did interviews all day long,
right,
for 2 straight days.
Wow! And
I was on some really big major things, and George Callens, who's my operations manager for my company, said, you know, he's at his dentist, and someone had seen me on television at his dentist office.
Oh, really?
As a result of these interviews that I did for this other project, and so it was pretty interesting, you know, that what happened as a result of using PR, because I actually had a team of people that did PR strategies and things for me for this particular event, and to put me in front of the right people in order to take advantage of that. And again, you know, it was very interesting, you know, because, you know, I'm looking there as a person, and then as a marketer.
Right. I'm
looking at, okay, you know, what's happening? You know, it's kind of looking around and saying, what's happening? You know, why is this? And you know, I'm very clear to mention, you know, I'm one of those people that are not shy to mention their website.
Right.
And
right.
I make sure that I mention every interview I do. I mention my website at least 2 to 3 times. You know, I mentioned another company's website of mine, you know, multiple times, and then we gave each interview that we did essentially a cheat sheet. You know, with questions about 4 or 5 topics that we wanted to have, and almost loaded questions, if you want to call it that.
Right.
We knew that they were going to ask us this one. We knew that they were going to ask me my website every time, and I just kind of reinforced that fact after that. After multiple times in order to make that come true. And then, you know, what happens, we get a result of, we get people come to our website, television interviews, we get radio interviews, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it's just an amazing experience. But, you know, that was a very concentrated, that happens like once a year. And
exactly.
that was a very concentrated effort that, you know, that went into all this. But the thing is that, you know, what you're talking about, you know, doing this, here's another example, though. We had done a campaign, and with a very simple strategy, and I didn't even know what the heck I was doing. I did it by myself. Within days after that, all of a sudden we're getting phone calls, we're getting radio interviews, we're getting television interviews, and all of those results. And this was simply just using a press release.
Right.
That literally anyone on this call has the ability to do using the strategies that work, like the strategies that you teach.
Right. You just actually kind of exposed a couple of secrets that people, one of those kind of a secret, and the other one is, the other one is a little better known. But number one, when you look at if you look at a morning news show, for example, that does 3 hours of news every single day,
mm-hmm.
do you honestly think those people are interested enough, skilled enough, or even have time to make up all the questions they ask every person?
Sure.
Of course they don't. I mean, they just, they're too busy. So one of the secrets of PR is that you have a powerful question sheet that you present. It's a media question sheet that gives them, the idea is that it gives them a structure or framework to work from, right? It allows them to develop their own questions. But let me tell you what happens when you give them a sheet that has 10 or 15 powerful questions that elicit good response, that have great stories attached to them. They're going to ask them because they don't have to do any work. And just like you discovered, it allows you to predictably get your website mentioned. It allows you to predictably get the story across that you want mentioned. And then the other thing that happens is that people want a piece of you when you have some degree of popularity. And, it's not likely that someone like me is going to be, the next Lindsay Lohan or someone like that who's going to get that kind of attention. But I don't want to be. But I do want to be the most visible, knowledgeable, and touched person in my space, and PR will do that for you.
Perfect. It's really interesting that you mentioned someone like Lindsay Lohan, who certainly has no problem getting media attention.
No. She just has to walk outside.
Yeah, pretty much, and and whether she likes it or not, she's going to get it just because of that celebrity status. But as you just mentioned, you don't have to have that celebrity status in order to get that. You just have to be a little creative.
Right, but I'm going to suggest, Armand, that you have that celebrity status in the internet marketing. I mean, how many people watch what you do every day and then report on it? I mean, I read about you in blogs all the time.
Sure.
That's how I keep up with you. I just look at what people are saying in blogs.
I have to read those blogs myself just to find out what I'm doing.
That's right. But you do, PR allows you to gain some level of celebrity inside a defined group of people. And ultimately, the world's foremost experts are the ones who have the opportunity to sell the most.
Well, here's something interesting, and I was kind of making a joke where I said I have to read those blogs and press releases in order to find out what I'm doing. I received I have these Google alerts on my name. If a new website is added or anything like that, or it's in the news about my name, and it notifies me.
Right.
And just to see what's being said, whether I like it or not. And so all of a sudden, I see my name. It says, it just gives you a little glimpse of it. It says Armand Morin, contracted to teach such and such company, blah blah blah. I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm serious. And so I'm like, well, maybe it's somebody else,
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't, I was like, can't possibly be me. And so I click on it. Sure enough, someone is talking about me, saying that I was contracted to work with this MLM company to teach them internet marketing.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, whoa, what's this all about? And I'm like, and I asked everyone in my company, I said, am I doing something that I didn't know about? I mean,
should I be someplace?
Yeah, I mean, is there something I should know? And everyone's like, we have no idea. And so we had contacted them, and it was essentially a gross exaggeration. I think someone was coming to an event that I was at, and they had kind of exaggerated what it was all about. So we had them correct. It was, it was no harm, necessarily.
Right.
But it was interesting. I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah. Well, you do have to pay attention too, as as your business grows and as you become more visible, and you will. You do need to pay attention to what people are saying, because sometimes people. I mean, it would be very easy to use. Your name gets searched a lot, obviously, in Big Seminar and things like that.
Right.
It would be very easy to use those things to try and create a draw away from you, for example, and in some way that's unethical, and you have to stay on top of it as well.
Right.
And, knowing how to deal with that when it occurs is important. And I know you know how to deal with it instantly, but we'll teach people exactly what to do if people do things like that. How do you counter that, and what do you do to make sure that it's handled appropriately so that you're not painted with a broad brush of negativity sometimes?
Now I know on your book that's out right now, under Persuasion, you've used your own techniques in order to market that book.
Yeah, absolutely. I used it not too long ago, and I did a very specific media release and got a call from Donnie Deutsch's people, and I'm going to be on the Donnie Deutsch program in the near future. Now, here's an interesting little thing about this. I was scheduled to be on Donnie Deutsch about a week after I did the release.
Right.
This happens very frequently with news. They said, look, something else happened, something else came up that's more important news right now than having you on the show.
Right.
They said, what we want to do is just put it off slightly. And so I stay in touch with them now, and we're continuing to work through it, and we'll schedule it at a time that's really appropriate for them, and we'll do it. Yeah. And I use it to market my book all the time. I use a series of media releases to make sure that my name's staying out front. I'll give you another example that I did. You may know Robert Greene. He wrote the 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, yeah, a great book. And he wrote a new book now called The 33 Strategies of War, which is also an exceptional book.
Right.
Well, I was going to be interviewing him. Now, if you know anything about Robert Greene, he's a little bit of a recluse. He doesn't really do interviews. He doesn't do teleseminar. He's never done a teleseminar before. He doesn't do any of those kinds of things. He basically is a guy who, when he decides to write a book, and he talks about this in the interview that I did with him, the day he decides to do it, he immerses himself in it, and his head doesn't come up until the book's written. He doesn't take time off. He works 18 hours a day. He doesn't have birthdays, holidays, vacations, none of it. He just, in his books, if you've read them, these are not books that are like,
right,
there's a margin on each side. They're written from one edge of the page to the other, and there's multiple stories going on. They're deep.
Right.
And so I said, look, and this was a great opportunity for me to use PR to drive people to my traffic to get them picked up. So I used PR. I said, look, I'm going to be interviewing Robert Greene. It's exclusive. Nobody else is going to be able to interview him like this. And I interviewed him for 2 hours. I had over 1,000 people on the phone call, most of them driven from PR,
sure,
and my list too, but a lot of them driven from PR. It got, again, spread, reported on blogs, all the things that I wanted it to do. And to this day, I've got people at a rate, and I did this 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
I got over 2,500 people signed up just to be on the call. About 1,000 people actually got on the call. And then since that day, I've had about 100 people a day signing up for a download of the MP3.
Wow.
And so, do you think I'll do another media release, letting
yeah.
people know that the MP3 is now? See, I haven't even done this yet, but then I'll let them know that the MP3 is now available for download.
Right.
And then take advantage of all of that renewed interest in traffic that a new media release will do, and it'll be relevant because it's different. Because again, there is nobody today that has a 2-hour interview with Robert Greene. No one, except me.
Well, here's the great part, though, is that, you could give them the free MP3 and then upsell them into the transcription of it.
Right. Absolutely. You can do that. I mean, you can, if I wanted to, again, I could not only upsell them into the transcription, or if I just decided, hey, look, I want to make this available to everybody, I could probably monetize it with AdSense pretty easily.
Oh, absolutely.
And, the interesting thing to me is this, because he obviously, his 48 Laws of Power is very tightly related to my book, Persuasion. So all of these people I get are highly qualified to buy my book, to buy my training,
right,
all of those things. And so it's a very powerful tool that will let you predictably create a stream of customers who can buy from you if you then incent them in the appropriate ways. And I know you're going to be talking a lot about that.
Yeah, I mean, there are just so many different ways, online in order to promote your business as an internet marketer. And again, you have to look at the fact that I think the people that are on this call right now, and everyone listening, we need to look at your businesses as being an internet business, and therefore you're not limited to any one specific stream of advertising. You're not limited to any specific way of marketing. I mean, it's a business. I mean, that means, to me, it means that it encompasses everything. Everything that works, I try in my business, and the things that work for me, I keep, and the ones that don't work for me, I don't keep. But more and more, as I learn more from people like Dave about the value of PR and some of the, I learned a lot of ideas tonight on tonight's call because I'm listening to Dave, and I'm listening, like, for example, he just told me that he built a list of 2,500 people in 2 weeks, for doing an interview, certainly with a very, popular person at this particular time. And also at the same time, with an MP3, I mean, these are ways to build I mean, if you weren't listening, I mean, Dave just actually told you multiple ways to build a list over the course of the last hour, a pretty substantial list with some simple strategies. And once you see Dave live, and once you see exactly how he does this, and you can see this out in full-blown big screens on both sides of the stage, and see him explain this to you, it becomes very, very clear what's the proper move to make, and the proper move to make is to really just start using these strategies in your business. And to me, that's the key. So, Dave, I know you covered a lot of what you're going to talk about this seminar throughout this whole talk that we've had here, but just kind of give everyone a brief highlight real quick before we wrap up.
Sure. So here's what's going to happen at the seminar, Armin. I'm going to take people through exactly the process I use to create predictable flows of customers to websites using PR. I'm also going to show them how to create powerful stories using the myth model and a couple of other models that make them wildly interesting to the media. Then I'm going to show you how you take all of that information and use it to monetize your site, how you create different streams of revenue, and how to predictably and consistently create those streams of revenue anytime you want to using the strategies. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is teach you exactly how to deal with the media. What do you do when the media calls? How do you handle them? What are the things that they want to see? And before I go, Armin, is it okay if I give them one more technique that they could use right now?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, here's what I want everybody to do. I want you to go in. If you review books on Amazon, now this is going to seem funny, but this is a very powerful technique. I use it. Go look for any review I've done on Amazon. You just where you put in your name, what is your name? When it says real name, just add your URL minus the www. So mine just says Dave Lakhani, boldapproach.com. Now, when people read my reviews and they like them, guess what they do? They go to my site, check it out, see what I'm all about.
Right.
And I get a lot of traffic from that. It also gives me a tremendous amount of recognition. It lets people know more about me. It's another way of PR. You have to think about PR as just a means of getting people to know you. So in addition to that, I'm going to teach you dozens of techniques, many of them that literally, I promise you, if you'll go up to your room that night after everybody's spoken and you do 4 or 5 or 10 of the things that I teach you, which don't take a lot of time or effort, you'll instantly see the results. I'm going to be teaching you over that period of it. And Armin, you'll remember last time at Big Seminar, I showed people one thing that they could do that would get them tremendous PR online and offline instantly with Fast Company Magazine. I'm going to be showing you many other techniques just like that you can use this time. Will get it. Go ahead.
That one strategy, I've just seen so many people use that strategy. And so, everyone that are listening to this call, when you see Dave talk about this strategy at the Big Seminar, it's actually a shocking strategy. and I've seen, I not only did he say it, but a ton of people went and did it. And I know many people that got a lot of good things as a result from doing that.
Well, they have, and the neat thing about it is because Fast Company Magazine obviously is ranked very highly in searches and search engines. It has high relevancy and new content all the time. These people's businesses are being found out every single day, as well as a very detailed description of their business and what they do. It's a wildly powerful technique that anybody can use, and I'm going to show them about a dozen others just like that they can leverage every single day. I'm going to show them how they can get reporters how they can get access to reporters who want people for stories each day so that they know how to talk to those people, how to find them, how to get them to think of them as a resource so that they become a resource that's being proactively sought as opposed to a resource that's proactively seeking coverage and getting caught in a million other media releases. I'm going to teach them everything they need to know, Armin. There is absolutely nothing I'm going to hold back or leave behind. They're going to know what they need to know, and it's going to be heavy, detailed content that gives them the structure and the techniques that they need. And if they can't make a bunch of money with this, I don't know what else will. You know what, Armin? The other thing that I was thinking about as you were talking is this. Could you imagine if a gold miner, think about the old guys who, back in the, the turn of the century when they were, or during the California gold rush, could you imagine if they would have just dug a hole in the ground, found some gold, and then said, oh, that's great, and then ran 200 or 300 or 500 yards, dug another hole in the ground, I didn't find any gold there. Ran and dug another hole in the ground, I didn't find any gold there. What Big Seminar does and what the techniques that we're doing here is that it allows you to simply widen your shaft so that you can collect all the gold. You can get all of the opportunities. PR is a piece of it. The stuff that Declan's going to teach is a piece of it. The stuff that you teach is a piece of it. It widens the shaft. It deepens it and that's where the mother lode is.
Well, Dave, thank you very much for taking time out to spend with us today. And, folks, Dave talked about this whole PR strategy. This is just one of the ingredients that you need to succeed in your business. Now, I want to mention two words to you right now, and that is two words, apple pie. Okay, I want you to write down apple pie, because apple pie is what you need in order to succeed in your own business. I don't care if it's online, I don't care if it's offline, I don't care what industry it happens to be in, but apple pie is the key to your success. And the reason why apple pie is the key to your success is this, is that when you think about an apple pie, there is a process that goes to make an apple pie. There is a recipe, and in that recipe you have a certain set of ingredients that have to be involved in that recipe. If you miss an ingredient, you don't get an apple pie. If you have too much of a certain ingredient, it's not really an apple pie, it's kind of an apple pie. If you mix up the ingredients all together, if you use different ingredients than the recipe called for, again, you do not get an apple pie. If you do not cook the apple pie, you do not get really an apple pie. So, there's a recipe that goes in to make the perfect apple pie. It's consistent. It's the same every single time. If you do follow these instructions using these exact ingredients, using this exact amount of each one of these little pieces of the ingredients, then you will get the perfect apple pie every single time. If you miss something, it does not work. Well, success in business is the exact same way. There is a recipe for success. The recipe is very simple. There are certain key elements, certain ingredients that your business has. What I have done is I have created this recipe out of people that I know that are making a difference on the Internet with techniques and strategies just like Dave's that have time-tested and proven to work. And the people that you're going to meet at the big seminar are those exact people. You are going to see my complete recipe for success based upon these people at the ingredients, at the big seminar. And you know what? It's so simple. It's so simple once you see these strategies. It's not easy in some cases because you have limitations on yourself that is not allowing you to succeed. My objective and my goal for you at this big seminar is to give you the techniques, give you the tools, and say, here, this is how it's done, this is how you do it, and these are the people that can make it happen. This is extremely important for you. I believe, as I said earlier, that it's easier to succeed now than it ever has been before in the history of the Internet. You can do it faster, you can become more successful. In fact, with the information that is out there right now, I make millions of dollars a year. That is a fact. The fact is, though, that using the information that's out there right now, you can make what I make look like chump change in a lot less time than it took me. It took me 10 years to do this. You can do this in a lot shorter time, and you can surpass everything that I've done. But I'm not going to give up too early, so don't count your chickens just yet. So, but what we're going to do is this, is that we want to make it easy. I want to make it easy for you to come. I want you to be at the next big seminar. You want to be at the next big seminar, so here's how you do it. Simply click the link that was in the email that you received to come to this particular call. And again, there's some fantastic bonus. We have, if you can make it to these are bonuses. You can make it to Stu's event. You can go to Mark Victor Hansen's event. Obviously, the big seminar, you can get all these bonuses that we have at the bottom of the page, over $1,600 in bonuses. These preview calls, you get the resale rights. Check tonight. We did this not only for you, and you receive the information from this call. You get this call as a resell right product, which means that you can take this call, what Dave just talked about, and you can actually sell this call along with 14 other calls that we are going to do. And you get the resell rights to this. I don't know if you know that, if you're aware of that. This is priceless. No one gets this stuff. And, by putting this call, you could sell this call for a decent dollar online, and people would gladly pay for it. And, the other part is that we're doing something, again, up until noon tomorrow. If you register your seat tonight, anytime between now and noon tomorrow, you're going to get my 5 courses that I have not released to the public. Not just one. Each one of these courses are anywhere between 200 to 500 pages long. 200 to 500 pages, each one of these. Well over 1,000 plus pages altogether. I don't even know how many pages total because there's just a ton of information, but there's 5 different ones on ebook marketing and easy marketing and on search engine optimization, I believe is one. We have membership sites, and then we also have internet marketing itself. And so there's all these courses that you get as well too. And again, I haven't released this out to the public. There's only about 100 people in the world or so that actually have had access to these courses, and you can be one of the few people that have. So here's what you need to do. Go to bigseminar.com and then actually go to the actual page, go down the bottom, choose where you want to choose 1 seat or 2 seats, and then simply register your seat right now to come to the big seminar. Again, I gave you the warning ahead of time. I'm going to tell you again because I'm going to warn everybody on every call. There are not only limited seats for the big seminar, but even more so, this is even more important, and hear me out. There's limited hotel rooms. I'm telling you now, I'm giving you a warning. I don't want anyone to ever come back and say, Armin didn't tell me. Yes, I have. I'm telling you on every one of these calls. I started telling people last week, and I'm telling you again this week. There are limited hotel rooms. The last thing that you want to do is, at the end of the day, have to travel 10, 15, 20 minutes in order to get back to your hotel because you did not register your seat and did not get the hotel information fast enough for the big seminar. There's a citywide event going on in Atlanta this weekend that we did not know about, and therefore you need to register your seat early in order to get that hotel. You get a reduced rate, a reduced room rate. We worked out that arrangement for you, but the hotel rooms itself, we've only got about three weeks left, I believe it is, until our block of rooms are given up. The only rooms in downtown Atlanta that are available, I'm going to make this real clear for you, the only hotel rooms in downtown Atlanta that are available right now, as of this minute, are the block of rooms that we have reserved for our attendees for the big seminar. That is it. You have to go outside in order to get another hotel room. So that is how important. That is no lie. You call around, find out for yourself. This is the absolute truth. So you need to register your seat immediately. Come to the event. Do it by noon tomorrow. I will not make this offer on Thursday. I will not make it next week. I will not make it again. What you need to do is I'm going to give you these 5 courses tonight. Tonight, if you register your seat by 12 noon tomorrow morning, you will get these extra courses. So again, thank you, Dave, very much for being here with us this evening.
My pleasure.
And I look forward to seeing you in just a couple weeks at the big seminar in Atlanta, Georgia on April 7th, 8th, and 9th. So again, everyone, register your seat. I look forward to seeing you there. We're going to have a tremendous time. You're not going to believe what this seminar can do for you and your business. You know, not only Dave is a speaker at the big seminar, but Dave also came as an attendee to the big seminar. He's also actually one of the people I had the opportunity to fly out to Dave's house and give him a check for, I believe it was $20,000 because of the big seminar.
Just for being there. And Armin, can I tell you this? Big seminar is the only I've been to thousands of seminars over my career. Big Seminar is the only seminar in the last 7 or 8 years that I've paid to go to consistently twice a year before I was a speaker. It's that important.
So, I mean, that says a lot right there. So, again, folks, register your seat right now. You need to be there. Your business needs you to be there. Everyone have a great night, and we'll talk to you on Thursday. Everyone have a great night. Bye-bye, everybody. Again, I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's conference call. My name is Armin Morin. You are on the Big Seminar Preview Series, and tonight's call is a very special call. We're interviewing one of our guests and one of our featured speakers at this year's Big Seminar, and that is Dave Lakhani. And we're going to tell you more about Dave in just a moment. But here's the deal, is that we do these calls every Tuesday and every Thursday. And we've interviewed many, many people in the past, and we're going to continue doing that. We've got some great calls lined up for you. We've got John Carlton coming up. We've got Derek Gell coming up. We've got Jim Edwards coming up this Thursday. We still have to interview Michael Fortin. We still have got Stephen Pierce, Rich Sheff, and Stephanie Frank, Alex Mondozian. Those are people that we're just getting ready to interview in the very near future. And the thing is that each one of these calls are designed to introduce you to each and every one of the speakers that are going to be teaching you for 3 full days at the big seminar in Los Angeles on November 4th, 5th, and 6th in Los Angeles. And the reason why we do this is to get a chance for you to meet them, find out who they are, and find out their specialties. And many times in this call we go into topics that just can literally change your business, change the way that you do things. The key that I want you to listen for throughout each and every one of these calls is, what can I apply to my own business? What are the keys that I can take and actually take action upon right now? Now, the big seminar itself, as many of you know, we've done this for 3 years now. This is not our first go at it. We've done it. In fact, we do seminars like no one else does it in this industry. It's different than anything you've ever experienced. In fact, the direction that we're heading with the new seminar that we're coming ready to do on November 4th, 5th, and 6th is a little different. I mean, you can see the pictures that are on the website. If you go to bigseminar.com/index LA, which is capital L, capital A, .html. It's indexLA, capital L, capital A, .html. You can see some of the pictures from our last big seminar that we've had. We put a lot of time, a lot of energy. We plan 6 months in advance to promote every one of our seminars and to get all the pieces in place in order to create an experience for you, an experience that will actually put you in the frame of mind to make a change, a drastic change in your business in 72 hours. I believe that when you totally immerse yourself into a specific topic, into a specific subject for a short period of time in hardcore hardcore information, hardcore training, but totally surround yourself everywhere you turn with that information, all of a sudden something happens, something snaps, and I see it happen each and every time with many people because you start focusing in on that particular subject, and that's what we do. We do it in a very specific way, using very specific means in order to do this because I know what can happen when you learn the right information. I know what has happened to me. I've paid a lot of money for my online education through many different seminars that I've been to, a lot of private trainings that I've been to. In fact, some seminars that I've been to have cost me upwards of over $25,000 in order to be there. But is that a lot of money? Of course it is. But in comparison to that $25,000 seminar making me over, let's say, 7 figures over the course of the next 12 months after that, is that a lot of money at that point? No, it's not. See, the key is this, is that I know that you have the ability within you to succeed unlike anything you've ever seen if you are exposed to the right people and to the right elements. That is what we did and do at the big seminar, and that's what you're going to have a chance to experience on November 4th, 5th, and 6th. Now, someone had asked me, are there still seats available at the big seminar? Well, we are well over halfway to filling our mark for the big seminar. We have almost 300 people registered for the seminar at this point, and you can still get in on the seminar itself. We've planned this to be the biggest seminar that we've ever done, and it's definitely going to be that. And I personally would love to see you. I'd love to meet you there. And once you experience the people, because it's not about the speakers, it's not always about the content that you're going to learn. It's a lot about the people, the networking that also happens at the seminar. I'm going to tell you more about that in just a few short minutes. But first of all, I want to introduce you to one of the people that I actually met at the big seminar. And the person I'm talking about is Dave Lakhani, and Dave has an interesting story, as I said earlier at the beginning of this conference call. And the reason is because Dave was at the first time I met Dave was actually at the big seminar. And in fact, I met him at one of the the first time I personally met him was actually at one of the let's say after seminar parties that were going on at the big seminar, which many people like Alex Mendosian or Rob Bell or many of these people actually throw during the seminar, where there's only a few people that can actually be there. And in Alex's case, he had quite a few people there, and I actually had a chance to meet Dave and talk to him out in the hall. And the next time I had a chance to meet Dave was when I called his number to win a car I was giving away. I was giving away a brand new PT Cruiser convertible. And some of the things that we've done previously in the past at the big seminar, and Dave happened to be holding the ticket. The only problem was Dave wasn't in the room when the ticket came, and that posed a little bit of a problem, but we found out that Dave was in the room. He actually had stepped out for a very brief moment, and we'll find out the details on that. But he ended up winning the car, but then he did something that I totally didn't expect, and that is he told me he didn't want the car. He actually wanted the money instead. So I flew out to Idaho and to meet him at his house, and we gave him this check. We went out to dinner and met his family, and I got a chance to know him more, and we started talking in his living room about some of the things that he does, and I found out a lot about him. I found out that Dave at that time, and still is, a speaker that spoke in front of literally hundreds of and literally thousands of people all over the world, and has applied his ideas and have worked for some pretty major companies, including like IBM, the U.S. Army, Rogers Media, Micron, GE, the Wizard Academy, which many people in marketing may know. And at the time he was working on a book, and he asked me to be interviewed as part of his book, which he's just released. And actually, he did a book, an online. What do they call it, Dave?
Virtual book tour.
Virtual book tour. I should know that because I know the guy that interviewed you really well, which is Alex Mendosian, as many people know, is not only one of my best friends but also one of my business partners.
But he has a book called Persuasion, The Art of Getting What You Want, and it's being published by Wiley, and it's due out here very, very shortly, and we're going to talk about that in a brief moment. But Dave has done many, many different things in businesses. He's just a tremendous amount of knowledge that he knows about marketing and how you can apply his strategies to your business. So with that, Dave, I'd like to welcome you to the conference call tonight.
Thanks very much, Armin. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to have this chance to share a lot of great information with people who have taken the time to be on the call tonight.
Great. Now, Dave, let's talk about this because let's talk about your book first, because that's a pretty big subject I know that's going on in your life right now. Let's talk about the subject of the book, sure. Which is Persuasion: The Art of Getting What You Want, and let's talk a little bit. Tell me a little bit about the book and what it is.
Well, the book it's really the accumulation of 25 years of experience studying persuasion and applying persuasion tactics for large corporations, small companies that I've owned, mid-sized companies, and even for individuals. I started studying persuasion for a very unique reason, and I'm going to tell this story, Armin, because I want everybody to remember, as I talk about the topic tonight, I want you to think in stories, and I want you to think and speak in sound bites. So here's the thing. I was raised in a cult until my late teens, and during that time was actively involved, and everything that you can imagine that goes on in a cult pretty well went on in this group that I belonged to. So when I decided to leave the cult, I made a decision and was literally cut off from my family and everyone else and sent on my way. And I went to the library and I started studying persuasion because I wanted to understand how it was that my mom made a decision to raise her sons in a cult. I wanted to understand how these people convinced my mom, who was very brilliant, to make this kind of a decision, to stick with it, to raise her sons that way, and think that this was the right thing to do. And that was the start of my study over 25 years. What I realized very quickly is that there's a very small difference between persuasion and manipulation. And as I began to study that difference, I applied those principles in business. I began to apply them to marketing, to advertising, to copywriting, to public relations, which we'll be talking about tonight, and a number of other areas, including personal face-to-face selling. And what I found out very quickly was, as I learned how to persuade, I was able to consistently earn very large incomes to stay in the top 3 to 5% earners in the United States. And so those were the things that got me to where I was at when I decided to write the book. And I wrote the book because another marketer that people are familiar with invited me to speak at one of his very private retreats. I expanded on this information for the first time in public, and he really encouraged me to write the book. In fact, made a couple phone calls for me, introduced me to his editor, and then by using persuasion and leveraging a lot of the PR that I had already created, was able to get this book published by Wiley, who is one of the top publishers in the world.
Now, Dave, first of all, I know a couple of people are asking us to, I'm just getting a couple instant messages here about if you could speak a little louder. But,
sure.
I find it really interesting that that you have you just the background there. I mean, going from literally being raised in a cult, leaving, and then having the knowledge or having the self-realization to find out why did that happen. And again, as someone obviously as close to you as your mother, finding out why she made the decision, the choices that she made, and I think the key point that you made there is choice. Is that she made a choice of her own, I don't know if you call it necessarily her own free will, because the fact that was that she was persuaded in order to go to that form of life, essentially.
Right, and here's the thing, Armin. It's people who are incredibly intelligent are typically much easier to recruit into cults for a number of reasons. There's two kinds of people. Number one, they're people who are broken right now and who need a lot of help. That's one area, that's one group that they go after. And I want to point out a really important point here, because this is important to anyone who does marketing, sales, advertising, whether you're on the internet or whether you're offline. They target people very specifically. They look for the people who match a certain schema that they have, and they say, when these people match, these are good targets for us to go to. They're not people who are going to necessarily resist us. So the first one is people who are broken, people who have some major event in their life. They may be addicted to drugs, or they may have other challenges that have happened to them, and they promise salvation. Salvation is an important key to remember, because salvation is what your clients are looking for too. They're looking for salvation for their bottom line, for the products and services that they want to use, and if you can provide that salvation, they'll come over. The second kind of people are highly intelligent people. Highly intelligent people are able to make decisions and draw conclusions and connect the dots that a lot of other people can't because they think at such a high level. So when people say things, they believe that, yes, this is possible, and they start looking for the reasons it's possible instead of logically thinking about why it should be impossible, and that's why they end up in a cult or they end up involved with them. And ultimately, once people have made these decisions, and this is something important I want everybody to write down, once people have made a commitment, once they've made a decision to align themselves and their beliefs with a cause or with a brand or with a product, service, or even a person who's a salesperson, once they've aligned that way, that person has to do something fairly significant to change the alignment because people are ultimately fairly lazy. Once we've decided something is true, once we've aligned our belief with it, we don't want to change. We don't want to have to go through the process of figuring all this out again. It's much easier to default to our old belief. That's why, even though most of us probably hate the cell phone company we're with, we renew our contract because when the time comes, what we know is better than what we don't know. And so that's why people stick with these things for so long.
So in other words, I mean, they're just so used to doing the things they've been doing.
Right.
They just feel that that's the way they should be. I mean, they don't try to buck the system, essentially.
Well, they just don't even think about it anymore is the problem. See, if they started using linear logical thinking and critical thinking, they would easily recognize the fallacy, whether it's a poor customer service experience, whether they're living in a cult, or whether they're in a bad relationship. They would immediately realize the fallacy of their actions, and they would change them. But they don't because it's much easier, the pain is much less to keep doing what you're doing than it is to change. Because as long as you're not being physically hurt or something like that, it's very simple to ignore the fact that your calls get dropped when you're in 50 of 60 major cities in the United States or something like that. It just makes it very, very simple to just ignore it and continue to do what you're doing because it's simple, it's handy, and you don't have to think about it. That's why it's so important to build a cult-like following around your business, whether it's online or offline. Because if you build that cult-like following, what happens is everyone begins to share the information with others like them, and they become ardent supporters. See, in a cult, people will violently defend their belief if they have to. Even people who are very peace-loving people, they're willing to violently defend their beliefs. And so are people who believe in brands. They may not double up a fist and actually get in a fight, but they certainly will carry on a very strong argument with anyone who is listening or who dares contradict their idea or their belief of what the brand is or what this product or service that they purchased from you is. If they like it, if they're aligned with it, they'll defend it till the end. And those are the kind of customers we want. Let me give you an example. When my mom died in 1999, and my mom had left this cult long before she died, but we were having a conversation just before she died, and it was coincidental. I didn't know she was going to die in 3 days, or this would have been, really an even more poignant story, but she died of something very unexpected. We were having this conversation, and I said, Mom, what do you think about this stuff now? And she says, honestly, Dave, I still wonder to this day if I made the right decision by leaving. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. And after Mom died, I was thinking about our last conversations, and that popped up, and I said to myself, that's what we want to happen when customers leave us. When customers leave our website, when customers leave our store, when customers leave the consulting relationship they have with us, we want them to feel and we want them to worry that they've just made the very worst decision of their life, that they may have given up salvation. Because as long as they wonder about that, there's a high likelihood you can get them back.
So in essence, I mean, many times it would be the way that, going back a little bit, the way that people stay doing what they're doing is the fact that it's kind of like the whole story about the elephants, how they train elephants. Is when they're very young, they start them off with this great big chain, and as they grow older, even though they could logically, I mean, looking at them, they could break away from that chain, from that stake in the ground, and run off and basically do whatever they want. But they've been trained so much not to essentially buck that system because when they're so young, it was so hard to do. Now they don't even bother trying anymore.
That's exactly right. And so once we've served customers well, once we've given people information in a format that they understand and accept, then there's no reason for them to really explore anything different unless someone else tells a better story, and it forces them to begin to become involved with someone else or to question their decision.
We have the thing that you said is that it makes it so difficult for customers to leave that they really kind of doubt their decision. We want to create that environment where they doubt their decision that if leaving was a good idea or not. I mean, here's kind of an interesting story, is that we have that experience actually with these conference calls that we do.
Right.
Is that people get so used to these conference calls for 6, 8, 9, 10, 12 weeks in some cases that at the end they're wondering, well, where am I going to go now? Where am I going to go on Tuesday and Thursday nights?
That's exactly right, and that's a great position to be in. And everybody who's listening to these calls should pay really careful attention to everything that Armand has done, because he's created such a powerful experience that and given you so many opportunities that at the end of the time you do feel that way. It's a little, you do feel some literal loss the first time you can't call in on a Tuesday or Thursday night.
Now, with people doing that in their business, and again, the ideal situation is that's the feeling that we should get. And some people on this call may be realizing this for the first time. They may have a revelation saying, he's right. That is the type of environment I need to create for my customers. What are some ways? I mean, some simple ways that a person could, say, apply that technique, that strategy to their businesses, be it online or offline.
One of the best ways that you can do it, Armand, is to build a powerful personal relationship with people one at a time. The more powerful the relationship you have with me, the less likely it is that I can ever leave, because I begin to feel very comfortable with you. I have expectations of our friendship. And it doesn't matter, by the way, if that happens face-to-face like it has with us, or if it happens online based on the kinds of communication that we've created, based on the information that you've shared with me, that you've given me, that you've made me privy to. See, here's a very powerful way of doing this. You see it online a lot, and it should happen a lot more offline. And, in fact, it has, but people have steered away from it a little bit, is creating inner circles and special focus groups that people get access to information that's only available to them. Everyone likes to be exclusive. They like to feel like they're the person who got this information, or who is a very small group of people who is very, very exclusive, who has information that others don't. See, that's another reason that cults work, because people who believe in cults, or who belong to cults, believe that they have access to information that no one else has, and that they have access to ultimate authority that no one else has typically. Well, that's the same thing that happens when you create inner circles, when you create focus groups within your business of people who are your very best customers, because those people then go out and they literally become the recruiters for the other customers just like them, who are the very best customers you can ever have.
So here's another observation, is that so if we essentially over-deliver to our customers, and we make our customers, if we look at our customers not just as a customer, but as a marketer, meaning every customer that we have or we create and that we build a relationship with, again, by building that one at a time with each individual customer. Some people may be thinking, I can't do that with each individual customer. You can by automating your business, and we'll talk more about that after. But by creating such a strong relationship with them and turning that customer into literally each person would be a viral marketing arm of your company, because you gave them something so good, so powerful. Maybe it was your customer service. Maybe it was just that your product itself was so good, which hopefully all your products are. Your product was so good, your customer service was so good, their interaction, their whole experience in dealing with you and or your company leaves them to the belief that there is no other alternative, that this is where they need to be. Ultimately, they've found home, and now they feel so strongly about it emotionally that they want to go out and tell the world about it.
That's exactly right. You keyed in on one really important point, and it's experience. You can do the best job marketing in the world, Armand. You can create the best ads. You can spend the most money on pay-per-click. You can have the top search engine position in Google, every single word that you want. And when people get to your store, whether it's online or offline, and the experience doesn't match what they expected based on everything they saw up to that point, and it doesn't match their schema of how they look at things and evaluate them and determine if they are correct, guess what happens? They don't even get a chance to engage with you, because they leave very quickly. Online, they can leave in fractions of a second. In a store, it takes literally seconds for them to turn around and walk back out. But experience is everything. And let me just give you an example of what I was talking about too, Armand, if you don't mind, of exclusivity. I don't know the exact numbers on this, but I'm going to use them because I think they're very poignant. There's probably about 2 million marketers in the United States, maybe more. It could be a much higher number than that, but 2 million marketers, close to 250 million people in the United States. And of those 2 million marketers on this call tonight, there's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 people on this call, 1,000 people who are privy to very specific information. They're going to get 14 hours of information that they can't get anywhere else, because there's nowhere else other than Big Seminar where you can get access to the 14 speakers that are going to be there providing them with this information. It's the only place that you get access to the top 500 people or 600 people in internet and offline marketing today. It's the only place you can do it. You can't find that group of people anywhere else. And that's why, for example, in my own experience, why I kept coming back every 6 months to Big Seminar, because it was exclusive, it was focused, and the experience was perfect.
And that's, people that know me hear me talk about the seminar and events that we have, especially inside my team, like George Cowens and, obviously my wife, Mariana, who's an integral part, and as well as Bill Barrett. They know that the number one thing when I start talking about marketing for our seminar and the event itself is all about one thing, and that's it. And that is the experience, because our focus is exactly what you're talking about. Our focus at the seminar is the experience, meaning that I want people to create a story, meaning I want people to leave the event and then go home and tell the people that didn't come their story about what happened to them at the event and the experience that they had. Therefore, those people will come back to our next event.
Let me put that into cult terms. Because what you're doing is creating a cult following of people. Those people received salvation when they got there. They found the answers that they'd been searching for, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got the best experts in the world giving them hands-on information. They got the answers that they wanted, so they found their salvation. And then they went back, and now they can't wait to help other people find theirs. That's how you create a cult following in a business. Now, I use the cult example because it's so important. There's many kinds of cults. I mean, if you look at the parrot heads that follow Jimmy Buffett around, that's an example of a cult. It's a very positive and harmless cult. And the kind of cult that you want to create in your own business is also positive and harmless in any way that would be negative to anyone's outcome. Because, see, otherwise, if you don't create that, if you don't serve people very well, if you try and do something that's manipulative, people begin to discover that very quickly, and then they flock away instead of flocking to you.
It's really interesting is that you said, use the words, this specific word, manipulative. And I found that very interesting because I think a lot of people misconstrue sales or sales technique with being manipulative.
It happens all the time, Armin, and there's only one key difference between true persuasion and manipulation. And do you want to know what it is?
Absolutely.
It's intent. If your intent is to harm someone, if your intent is inwardly focused and you want to only do something for your own personal gain, regardless of the outcome for other people, regardless of what happens to other people, then you're being manipulative. If, on the other hand, you help lead people to their very own best conclusion using honor, integrity, ethically, and appropriately leading them that way, then they persuade themselves. You don't have to use the puppy dog close or the sharp angle close or anything else. You simply help people through the experience they have with you come to their own best conclusion. And people, remember I said earlier that people defend their beliefs even violently. Well, when they come to their own best conclusion and they make their own decision, at that point, there's really not much changing their mind because they've already made their very own best decision. And at that point, they're willing to defend the decision that they've made because they came to it.
And that's the key, is that to make sure that people are coming to it on their own conclusion rather than what you do. Because so many times, I think what happens is that people they think that, okay, it's in sales. Here's a classic example. In sales, it's the close. Many people get down to the end, and it's like, oh, if I close really good, no matter what my product is, I can still get sales. and where they're essentially at the end, hopefully I shouldn't say hopefully, they think to themselves, hopefully I can manipulate this person in order to grab that sale, whether it's the best decision for that person or not. Whether the salesperson, on the other hand, are saying, okay, let me give them enough information for them to make an educated decision about the product and whether it's going to fit them or not fit them. Because so many times people, they, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, they tend to not believe in their product enough, that their product doesn't have enough merit on its own. Therefore, they think they need to use some kind of technique or some other technique rather than the product on its own merits in order to persuade a person in order to purchase that product. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And if you're not 100% committed to the product or service that you're selling, so committed that you would sell it to your own family if it was appropriate for them, then you should quit selling it.
Yeah, I like the way you state that. So committed that you would sell it to your own family, because I think it's really appropriate. What are some other ways that a person can use persuasion? Let's talk a little bit about online sales. Cause I know you do it. You do a lot of things online. I know you have your own blog. I mean, you've got websites where you sell your product and things of that nature. Let's talk about some of the things that we can do online as far as sales persuasion and things.
Well, there's a number of things, Armand, and one of the things that I want you to think about is just the experience again. I want you to think about there's two stores sitting right next to each other, and they both sell books, because books are at the top of my mind. We'll say they sell books. You walk into one store, it looks like Barnes & Noble. It's well lit. There's 100,000 titles in the store. There's a coffee shop in the middle, and it's very, very nice. You have a certain opinion or impression about that store, right? Well, then the store next to it, when you walk in, the door barely opens. You walk in, everything is dusty and dirty. There's one person in there who doesn't even acknowledge you when you come in, and the books are in no particular order. They're just kind of everywhere on shelves, and the store is cramped and crowded and not very bright. Which store is more appealing? Well, the obvious answer is it's the Barnes & Noble style store.
Right.
So the same thing happens with websites. We have a schema, and our schema is the filters that we look through to determine what is right or wrong about the world or about the experience that we're having. So one of the most important things you can do to persuade online is make sure that people have an experience the second they come to your site that fits the schema of the majority of people who would want your product or service. So a lot of people always ask me, they say, how come all of these guys who do sales on the internet have sites that look alike? Well, the quick answer is because they work. The second quick answer is because people understand instantly what they are. They can look at it and they can tell, okay, I know this is a site that's focused on selling. It's going to be targeted, and I know how I'm going to get my information. See, providing information in a predictable way is also a very persuasive tactic, because when people get information in a way that they can predict it's going to happen, it feels very comfortable for them, and they ultimately make that decision. Well, let me give you a couple of other ideas, too. Using public relations and persuading through the media can ultimately drive a lot of people who are offline, who typically don't buy online or who don't know who you are because you're primarily an online marketer, online to find out who you are once they hear about you. And for people who are typically online shoppers, they can be driven offline to learn about people or events that they didn't know about before, or expose themselves to other people who can now buy their products and services. And the real value of PR, when it's done appropriately and persuasively, is that it drives literally hundreds and hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands, of individual visitors to websites or to call your phone. I'll give you a really simple example. Last big seminar, you guys announced SalesforceAudio.com.
Right.
That was your Salesforce audio product, a powerful product. Well, I had the opportunity 3 weeks after I was at Big Seminar to be sitting in an editor's office for Sales and Marketing Management magazine. And they said, look, one of the questions we get all the time is, how do you get past voicemail? How do you get somebody to return your calls? How do you get into these people? I said, look, the most powerful thing you can do is use SalesforceAudio.com. And so it ended up being in about an 8-paragraph article in Sales and Marketing Management magazine, which went out to about 500,000 people. And then it was online. And ultimately, and I don't know what happened to SalesforceAudio.com because I don't have the stats there, but I know in July of this year, within a week after that article came out, I got 102 calls from people who had never heard of me before. And the mention of me was pretty small, but who had never heard of me before, who wanted Number one, my endorsement to see if it really worked the way that they said it did in the article, and number two, who wanted to be able to use the product and service themselves. So it was very simple, and then a small percentage of those people, about 10 out of the 102, became clients of mine ultimately, either through speaking engagements or consulting contracts or whatever. So one simple article did that. Now, I still get emails literally every week from somebody who's read that article online and who sends me an email to say, does this really work? So one simple process like that, these people are used to receiving information in a very specific way, in this case a magazine article. They get it, they read it, and it drives traffic back to them. But here's why it works. Here's why PR works, and I'm going to tell you why it doesn't work too. But here's why PR works. It's a third-party endorsement. It's a transfer of power. In the book, I talk a lot about transfers of power. But it's transferring the power or the credibility of the magazine. It's a tacit third-party endorsement from the magazine to me, or in this case, to Salesforce Audio, saying that this is a good thing. We all know that the media doesn't always get it right, but we believe them because they're in a position of authority, because we know that they try to get it right most of the time, so we accept what the media says as being fact. We don't even think about it. There's no questioning it. I mean, if somebody's on the news and they say there's an earthquake in Peru today, you don't go, I'm going to check that out with 3 independent sources. Well, the same thing is true of somebody recommending a product or service or reviewing a product or service if it's in the media, whether it's online media, whether it's offline media, radio or television, or print.
So a lot of what you're saying, I mean, the early part of that was just essentially it's the right message to the right market. I've been talking with a lot of people regarding that particular subject lately because what you have to understand, I think for many people on this call, is that you have to understand is who your clientele is and what they expect.
Right.
There's a level of expectation along with it.
Exactly. And the most important thing you can do, and that's why targeting is so important now, Armin, because what happens so often is that companies go out and decide that they can be everything to everyone, or they decide that the product or service that they sell has universal impact and appeal. Well, the reality of it is it doesn't. I don't care what you sell. There's not a product in the world, unless somebody can figure out how to take all the air out of the atmosphere and sell canned air, that everyone needs. So what you have to find are the people who are passionate about it, who have a strong desire to use products or services like the one you want, have been pre-inclined by proving in the past that they've bought those products and services to buy from you. And that's what schema is all about. These people look at something and they can tell instantly whether it's a good fit for them or not. It's your responsibility to make sure that when they look through their filters of the world at your product, your service, your website, your store, that it fits.
So our job as a marketer is just to make it really easy for our customers to realize that as quickly as possible.
Right, absolutely. Let me give you another quick example. Back in 1999, when the big Y2K scare was on,
right,
I was doing some work for an accounting software company. They had a piece of software that was not Y2K compliant. It would definitely crash. And so they had over 20,000 users of the software. And they'd been telling them that the software will crash if you don't have these upgrades by this time. And in fact, they were wrong. The crash actually happened early. It happened in late November, just before Thanksgiving. The software crashed because nobody took into account the fact that fiscal calendars actually opened up a year in advance, so that caused the software to crash.
Right.
So what happened was we had to make a decision then. We said, okay, we can either try and hide this back, because if you remember, in 1999, everybody was going crazy thinking maybe the world would end or financial markets would crash or anything else. We said we can either take advantage of this and we can tell this story, or we can try and hide it. We decided to take advantage of it. So I have the dubious honor of being the person who announced the first documented crash of financial software for the Y2K crash. And that got literally hundreds of thousands of mentions around the world in 24 hours, because there was a company in Bluefield, West Virginia that couldn't pay its employees because the software crashed. So this story just went nuts. Well, what that led to was thousands and thousands of links back to the site of the company that I was working with, which meant that they got more web traffic, they got better web ranking, their search engine positioning changed, it went up, and a lot of people who had never done business with them before, because part of the story that we told was that if you buy this other software, this won't happen, bought that software because they were afraid that it might happen with the software they already had, and they weren't even customers. So it drove record sales days for about 20 days following that one release because it was very targeted, focused, and specific.
Now, you can do the same thing. I mean, that strategy that you just used back in 1999, 7 years ago almost, you can use that same strategy today. I mean, in fact, many people do. In fact, I believe it's now easier now today than it ever has been because of the fact of things like blogs.
Right, absolutely. Blogs are one of the most powerful tools that anyone can. If people are not on this call are not using a blog today, you're missing an opportunity. You need to go find some blogging software as soon as you hang up the phone and start blogging because, number one, it's a powerful PR tool. The media is aggressively searching blogs for new ideas and new stories now. It's their favorite hunting ground for new stories and new ideas and new sources because what happened before, PR companies just they pushed the same experts all the time, and you ended up seeing the same people all the time. Well, they want a fresh new perspective. Blogs are a great place to find that.
Now,
go ahead.
Well, you have your own blog, for example.
Yeah, I do.
Where's your blog at, Dave?
You can go to Bold Approach, just http:// boldapproach.typepad.com,
okay.
And that'll take you right to my blog. And it's typepad, typepad.com. And if you go there, what you'll see is there's a lot of links there out to other people's sites, and it's my most current thoughts on marketing, sales, public relations, persuasion, all of those things. And what happens is that the search engines go out and regularly crawl these blogs looking for information and linking back. I had a challenge with one of my websites, and Armand, I know you're much more expert than me at this and can explain it better than I can, but I had a hard time getting it ranked well in Google.
Right.
And so one of the things that I did was just constantly write posts, and about every third post, I included something that linked back to my website.
Right.
I went from having a 1 Google page ranking to a 5 in about 2.5 weeks.
Wow.
And that was, to me, a very powerful strategy. Because
absolutely.
Everything on that website moved up in the search engine ranking, and it was a powerful tool for me. More importantly, though, I got 2 or 3 phone calls after I'd been writing this blog for about 3 months, and I put about 2 posts a week on there, something like that. And they don't have to be long. I mean, some of my posts are really long, and other ones are not that long at all. Some of them are only maybe 100 words long. And they ultimately link back to the website, and I get better rankings, and I get a lot more clients that way. I'll give you a real interesting example here. I was just promoting the book, as you know, and Seth Godin, who is the author of The Purple Cow and a bunch of other All Marketers Are Liars, a bunch of other books.
Yeah, Idea Virus, which is...
Yeah, Idea Virus, right. And he did a quick post in his blog for me. It was literally 3 lines long and linked it back to my blog. Now, this, because I can see the stats on my side of how many people are coming to the blog, within an hour of his post hitting, I had 1,249 people visit my site. 1,249. That's pretty impressive to me. I mean, I don't know how many other people can generate that kind of traffic instantly.
Exactly.
But it worked pretty good for me. And then over a period of about a week and a half to 10 days that this has continued, I still get around 300 to 400 hits a day just from Seth's blog.
Amazing.
So it lets you know how powerful it is, and you should be using it as a powerful tool to increase not only your web traffic, but also to leverage your traffic into the media.
So now, so obviously, I personally believe everyone should have a blog. I mean, because our experiences, even though they're pretty minor with standard blogging, when I say standard blogging, I mean we use blogs for search engine stuff, but that's a little different. But on my own site, I use, we actually post an article every now and then. I've been a little lax on it lately due to the seminar promotions and things. But we found out that what was interesting about our blog is the fact that every single one of the pages were indexed. As opposed to any other site that I've ever thought of it. And it was indexed not only in Google, it was indexed in Google, MSN, Yahoo, and any other search engine I could find. We were fully indexed, and not just 1 page or 2 pages, but every single site on the page. Now, granted, there's not. We just started the blog recently, and there's not a huge number of pages on it. It's only about 16, 17 pages or so. But every single one of those pages were indexed, and I never. Here's the other thing: is I to this day, I have still not announced my blog to anybody, and yet, just from posting and being in the search engines, we get somewhere between 50 to 100 visitors a day, just on that blog, which I don't do anything for.
Right. It's such a powerful tool that everyone should be using it. And here's the other thing that it does for people. it makes you an expert, because if people search you out and they like what you're writing about, in your mind, you're the world's foremost expert on that topic, and you're providing them with consistent information, you're developing the experience, and you're putting it in their mind that they're part of a small group of people who have access to you in a way that a lot of other people don't. So it's, again, reinforcing that idea of exclusivity and expertise. Gurudom is another thing. People are always looking for the best guru or the smartest person or the best trainer in any topic so that they can become better at whatever it is that they're doing. And blogs are a tool for doing that. They're really a great way of building your expertise. Podcasts do the same thing. Podcasts can also be a very powerful tool, not as powerful necessarily in terms of driving traffic, although there's strategies you can use with a blog and podcast to drive traffic, but ultimately in getting your message out in a way that impacts people deeply so that they look to you as the world's foremost expert in a certain area.
And, let's talk about being an expert or an authority in relation to persuasion.
It's very powerful because people automatically accept anything that's said by an authority. So, for example, if a police officer tells you to pull over, you pull over. If your doctor tells you that you need to have stitches and a cut, you don't argue. You just get it done. If Armin Morin tells you that you need to do these things to your website to increase your traffic and increase your conversion, you don't think about it. You do it. And it's simple because we've been trained from a very early age to accept people in positions of authority and do what they say. We don't resist authority. We accept it. And it's, again, this is an unconscious process that we all have. A long time ago, before I got involved in marketing, I used to be in law enforcement, and I trained SWAT teams. And one of the things I'd always do is I'd pick the biggest, meanest-looking guy on the SWAT team, and I would have him come up to the front, and I would say, punch me in the face. And he would always wind up and throw his punch, and I'd say, stop. Well, guess what happened? Every time. Nobody ever punched me.
Right.
We stopped. Because we're so conditioned to listen to authority, to respond to people who act with authority, that we just do it. So that's why when people make recommendations and transfer that power when they're credible, accepted authorities, other people make the decisions to buy or to take advantage of whatever it is that person said. So authority in terms of persuasion is a very powerful tool. Everybody should strive to become the authority or the expert in their field so that they're the one that everyone looks to for trend-setting information, for setting the tone of how the businesses should be run or the experiences that people should have.
Now, what are some other strategies for simple persuasion that anyone could actually get off this call and do almost immediately, whether it be online or offline?
Sure. One of the best things that they can do, Armin, is tell stories, because stories are the oldest form of communication we know. From the very earliest time, even when we had limited language skills, we still told stories. If you look at cave drawings on walls, they depicted pictures of things and events that happened. When you have children, the first thing you do is tell them stories. You read them stories from a book. We understand how stories happen. So if you just change your writing, if you just change the focus of your presentations in person to a story-style presentation where you tell stories and help people come to their own conclusion, you'll sell more than you ever have before. That's one thing that they can do. The second thing that they can do, I want people to write this down because I want you to see the power of public relations. Anybody here can get covered in the media if they want to. They simply have to do a couple of things. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down 3 terms because I'm going to prove this to you. Write down the word Snell, S-N-E-L-L, Johnson. Write down the term come and get it. And then write down the term bronze statue. Now, here's why I'm telling you to do that. Snell Johnson, if you do a search in Google today, you'll get some responses because he was a pretty famous artist who died a few years ago. He built the MGM Grand Lion, the world's largest bronze sculpture. His second most famous sculpture is a sculpture called Come and Get It. And that sculpture sits in Phoenix, Arizona in front of Rawhide Western Town. And I was just hired to sell this piece of sculpture. It weighs 9.5 tons. It'll sell for about $1.5 million. But there's really very little about it on the internet or anyplace else. Nobody's heard about it or him for quite some time. If you'll just do a search today, and then you compare the results about 3 weeks from now, and see how much more you can find out about Snell Johnson, the bronze sculpture, or called Come and Get It, you'll see literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of references to him after we use this online and offline PR strategy. But it'll all start with a simple press release, just a simple media release that says that the statue's going on sale, that it's a massive 9.5-ton statue that was created, and it's the second most photographed outdoor exhibit in Arizona. Do you know what number one is?
No.
It's the Grand Canyon.
Oh,
so it's the only thing more photographed, the only thing more photographed than this piece of art in Arizona is the Grand Canyon. So what we'll do is we'll just use a simple PR strategy to talk about this, because we'll tell a story. We'll tell the story of the artist, we'll tell the story of why it's being sold now, and we'll tell the story of how someone can acquire it. And just using those strategies alone and then selling it on eBay, we will generate literally thousands of links back to a site on eBay, and then as well as their own site, that will sell this piece of art. So that's another strategy that you can use. Just use persuasive PR.
You know, it's really interesting because you said it all starts with a simple press release. And many people I know online don't use press releases enough because of lack of knowledge.
And that's exactly why they don't work, Armand. If all you do is write a media release and you send it out, it's not going to get picked up. It's not going to get covered. And I'm going to show you some exact strategies at Big Seminar about how to get your media releases covered. And I'll share a couple with you tonight. Number one, just sending out a media release doesn't do a thing, and here's why. Everybody knows how much spam they get in their inbox now. Even if you try and control spam, you know how much you get. So imagine what it's like being in a newsroom where literally every major corporation in the United States, most small businesses, most mid-sized businesses, a lot of people, plus events are all trying to get the attention of, in an average newsroom, let's just say 20 or 30 people. I mean, that's literally thousands of pieces of information that are coming in, begging for their attention, and only a small percentage of those are going to get it. So if all you do is send in a media release, it goes in a pile, and unless that media release says something like, the President of the United States was just assassinated, then it's not going to get any attention. What's going to happen is it's just going to sit there. Occasionally you'll get lucky, and it'll come across the right person at the right time who has some interest in whatever it is that you're trying to talk about, and they'll do something with it. But what you have to do is take the next step, and this is why I say public relations doesn't work, but persuasive public relations does, because you've got to follow that up with a telephone call, with a personal email, or something that engages the person and creates the relationship. I want you to write that down. Engage the reporter and create the relationship. If you do that, if you take the time to break through that little wall that they put up and just engage them, and then I said earlier that you think in stories and you speak in sound bites. If you give them very simple information they can understand that compels them to ask more questions, because anybody who does media is naturally curious anyway. They're going to start asking you questions. It gives you the opportunity to lead them to their own best conclusion. So guess what the headline for my media release was for my book? That sales teams are flocking to a former cultist to learn how to persuade.
Which is a great headline anyway.
It absolutely forces people to pay attention, right? And so they want to know, why are businesses turning to cultists? Now, I'm playing on a couple of different things. Number one, obviously the cult side, but number two is everybody's concerned about ethics in business right now. And so the minute they see that, they seize that as an opportunity to think maybe these businesses are trying to do something unethical. And so it forces them to look further to decide if it's true or not. And obviously it's not true, because we clarify right away that one of the most important things you can do is be ethical, honest, and lead people to their own best conclusion. And so, but it gets attention. And then when we follow that up, and I call them up and I say, I sent you in a release about the businesses that are flocking to cultists to learn how to sell. They remember that instantly, and they want to talk to you. They want to ask more questions. So if you're going to use media releases, that's how you do it. You create a powerful, compelling hook or a sound bite, and then you lead them right through it. It sounds kind of like writing compelling copy for a website, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And one of the things I think that, in the method that you just described is people are expecting it. People like controversy. Mm-hmm. And so you gave them the thought that they were going to, read some almost controversial piece of information. Right. In order to get their attention, and then let the copy take over for itself.
Well, and that's exactly what the media does, right? They tease you with ideas of what's going to be coming next that could be controversial or stunning or exciting or embarrassing or whatever, and you're forced to come back after the commercial to watch the news.
Right.
And that's what you're doing with the media release too. You're providing them with information in the format they want to accept it and that they want to repeat it. So you're giving them the information that they need the way they want it.
Well, Dave, let's talk about this. We've got a few minutes left. What is it that what are you be teaching people at the Big Seminar? Obviously, many of the things that we discussed this evening in greater detail. But I'll allow you to put it in your own words.
Sure. What I'm going to be talking about at Big Seminar is we're going to spend a big majority of the time talking about persuasive public relations. And public relations really, Armand, is only one area of public relations is what happens in the media. There's all other areas of public relations that we don't think about that really impact the way our business grows. So we'll talk about things like blogs. We'll talk about things like creating the perfect experience inside your store or on your website so that people have a kind of experience that they have to come back for more. We're going to talk about specifically how to use the media appropriately. I'm going to show you very specific places that you can get targeted media lists so that you can get directly to people like the producers on Oprah, the Today Show, or even very targeted kinds of magazines or radio publications that you want to be in. We're going to demonstrate that for you, and we're also going to show you exactly how to persuade the media once you get them on the telephone, because there's a very specific process for getting them to cover your media. And then ultimately we're going to show you also what to do with the media once you've had the coverage, because that's another thing that people miss when they use public relations. They forget to do something with it after they've had it. They just say, well, it was there once, now it's done. But if you want to take full advantage of it, there's a number of strategies that you have to use on the back end to be sure that people are able to find out about this and get that transfer of power and transfer of credibility to continue to happen after the media has been used. So we're going to demonstrate very specifically how to do it online to get more people coming to your website if you're an online-only marketer. If you're an offline marketer, we're going to show you how to use online PR and offline PR to get more people who only buy online to discover you offline. And we're going to demonstrate specifically the three most important technologies that you can use online today that will get you literally hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of links back to your website to increase website traffic, increase website ranking, and to increase your credibility. And then the final thing that I'll be covering is how to become a recognized expert in under 30 days so that you become the most powerful expert you can be, so that the media wants to hear from you, so that your clients want to hear from you, and so that you're positioned appropriately as the world's foremost expert in your subject matter.
You know, and I think, you know, those subjects are exactly what people need, because it's in my opinion, you know, everything that you just described is overlooked. I mean, people do not spend enough time knowing this information, and quite honestly, there's very few places that I know of and very few people that I know of that can not only talk about it, but talk about it from an educated standpoint. Many people claim to talk about things like that, but there's very few people that can actually talk about it like you can, Dave. And so I'm really glad that you're going to be at this event and you know, and teach everyone at the event, because I think everyone is going to be able to learn a lot from you, because especially the fact that you're using a lot of what you're going to be talking about right now, either with clients that you're currently working with or with your own personal information, because the release of your book. And let's talk about that for just a real brief moment before we wrap up here. Is how can people get a hold of your book, and when is it going to be launched, or has it been launched exactly?
It's already been launched, and if they want to get the book, they can go to www.askthepersuader.com/buy, B-U-Y, and that'll get you all the information you need about the book right there.
Absolutely.
Now, can I give you a few examples, Armand, very quick ones, of specifically what kinds of clients this is applicable to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, it's great because these are just some of the things that I'm currently working on top of mind awareness. I'm helping a doctor sell new knees. I'm helping a company that sells corn-burning appliances. These are appliances that burn milled corn as an alternative to fuel oil or coal for heat. Helping clients who sell books, helping clients who sell T-shirts, helping clients who sell antivirus software, accounting software, point-of-sale software. The list goes on and on and on. There's virtually no limit to who can use this information and how they can use it. So I'm going to talk about, you know, how to use persuasion in your public relations and your advertising and everything that you're doing in order to create an environment where people will instantly accept you, respect you, and do business with you.
Sounds good. Again, thank you very much, Dave, for being with us tonight. And because I know with the book release and everything, you've got just a huge amount of things going on at this particular point especially. And, I can't wait to talk with you more at the big seminar in just about a month away or so.
I'm looking forward to it. I want everybody to be prepared to learn everything they can about persuasive public relations and creating a persuasive environment for your clients to buy in.
Sounds great. And, folks, as I said, we're just a little over a month away from the big seminar. It's September 27th, and the big seminar is November 4th, 5th, and 6th. And here is something that I need to tell you about. The fact is that the big seminar, like I said, is coming up, but some of you have been thinking about, should I come, should I not come? Obviously, I'm a little biased. I think everyone should come to the big seminar because of the results that I have seen from the people that have attended. But here's the deal, though, is that some people have been choosing or thinking about choosing our two-payment program. Our two-payment program works this way, is that you put down half of it today, and then 30 days from today you put down the other half. You're automatically billed for the other half. Today, actually, up until the end of this month, which is just a few short days away, will be the last day that we will even have that option. We'll be taking it off the website. So if you're thinking about coming and you need to utilize that two-payment program, you need to go ahead and do that immediately, or you will not have that option in the very near future. Now, there's going to be some great people that are going to be at the event. Not only we're going to have Dave, but many people that I've mentioned previously, such as John Carlton, again, tremendous copywriter, Derek Gell, PayPal directly, which is Alex Bruton, the person in charge of business development at PayPal, Michael Fortin, again, one of the greatest copywriters in the world, Jim Edwards, Stephen Pierce, Rich Sheffrin, Stephanie Frank, Kurt Christensen, Alex Mondosian, he has something brand new that he's going to be revealing at the big seminar, which you don't want to miss, and obviously myself. And I'm going to talk to you about something. I'm out of town right now. I'm actually in a hotel room right now doing this call, and it hit me the other day right before I left my house what it is that I want to talk about at the big seminar. And I can guarantee you this, is that no one has talked about this in this way to you in this particular field of internet marketing. And I'm going to show everybody something that I've been putting a lot of time and effort into as to not only I'm going to expose you to a new strategy that really very few people in the world know it. Scientists know it, but very few other people actually know this strategy. And we've simply developed this for marketing and how it can develop for you. And we're putting a lot of time and energy on it, especially over the last few days, and putting together in a simple-to-understand formula that will literally explode your business. I'm doing this for a selfish reason, first of all. I know that my own business is going to benefit greatly from this and what we're going to be implementing as a result of this new strategy. And you're going to be able to learn it firsthand. You'll be the first group that I ever share this with, and so you're going to have a lot of information to go on. But we've got some great things happening at the seminar. We're giving away over $20,000 worth of products and services at the event itself. We've got some great bonus gifts for you. We have our VIP dinner that's happening there. We've got our affiliate program where you can make $1,000 for every person that you refer to the big seminar, so you can actually walk away from the big seminar with a check in hand, because we do pay the checks right at the seminar, which is something, again, that no other seminar does. We have a brand new casino night that we're doing in Los Angeles. It's going to be fun. We've got blackjack tables, roulette tables, and I think there's a few other things that we got there as well, too. But we have all kinds of casino games, and then we're going to have the auction at the end of the night using our casino money that we win. And again, it's going to be some great fun times, giving you the opportunity to network, which is definitely one of the highlights of the event. I heard someone one time on a conference call saying, networking's not that important at a seminar. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Because to me, networking is the key to any seminar that you go to. I'm at an event this week myself. And, what was I doing right before this call? I was downstairs and I was networking with the other people. And you'd be amazed at the people that you meet at seminars. And our event is very unique in the fact that, as David mentioned, there is no other event that you can get this caliber of people in one room at the same time anywhere in the world. We have the largest internet marketing seminar in the world at this point, and you can be there to take advantage of not only the content, not only the information, the speakers, getting to know them, but getting to know the other people in the room, because networking is the key to your success. And many people have asked us repeatedly about our guarantee and what does that mean. Well, I believe in my seminar so much in that I know that what can happen to you and what benefits you will receive from the information and being there for 3 full days immersed in internet marketing information. Our guarantee is really simple. If at the end of the first day you don't think that the seminar is for you or anything, or it's just not happening for you for whatever reason, all you have to do is you have to come up to me and just say, Armin, hey, it's not for me. I'll say, well, I'm glad you tried, and I'm glad you made it at least, and keep all our bonus gifts as a gift just for trying us out. And I'll give you all your money back right on the spot. I'll bring you over, and we'll give you your money back. It's very simple. Now, the thing is, though, is that since we've done these seminars and since we've done these events, I've never had to do that. I've never had anyone come up and ask me for their money back at the event. And if they're not happy, I don't want you there in the first place if you're not happy with the event, because I don't want you wasting your money. I don't want you wasting your time. I don't want you wasting my time. I don't want you wasting anybody's time, in fact. But I do know this. If the time that you spend is put into the proper place, learning the information, networking with people, you will get a huge amount of information and benefit from this event, just like all the people that we have on our website. Go to the website. Don't even read the sales. Do not read the sales letter. I'm going to tell you that right now. Don't read it. All I want you to do is I want you to go to the sales letter, and I just want you to listen to each one of the testimonials. There's about 20 of them there. But listen to what those people have to say. I didn't pay these people to say this. All I did is I put up a white screen in back, and we had a little sign that said, hey, if you enjoyed the seminar so far and you'd like to give us a testimonial, come on over and do it. And that's what they said. And it's not in their words, it's not in mine, it's not in anyone else's words. You hear it right from the person, the source, and this is as people throughout the weekend wanted to go up and do that. And that's what they said. This event was that good to them and is just done so many different things for so many different people. This next event that we're doing is different because it is going to be our biggest. It is going to be our best event yet to date. We change little things. We make it better. As David mentioned, one of the objectives that we focus on at the seminar is the experience. I know the type of experience that I am looking to deliver to you. I know what it's going to take. I know that myself personally, I have to invest a lot of money in order to give it to you in the way that I want, because I will not accept anything less, because I consider myself, what's the good word I'm looking for? I consider myself responsible for you at this event. I consider myself personally responsible for you benefiting from this, and therefore I know what you need in order to get the most out of the seminar, and I will not scrape nor I will skimp on getting you the information in the proper format. This seminar will cost me $250,000. Why? Because it needs to be done in a way that you to get the most benefit. You need to be there. You need to invest in yourself, and you need to make the decision today to come to the event. Why? Because if you put it off, you're just not going to make a decision. You see, that you can make a decision by actually making the decision, or you're making a decision anyway by not making a decision. One way or another, you're making a decision. So if you're going to come. If you're not going to come, that's great too. But my point is to you, I think you should be there. I think you should take 5 minutes out of your day today, read the sales letter, look at what we're offering you, and you should be there. This is going to be a fantastic event. The more time that you wait is just more time. The chances are that we may close the doors in the future, which it looks like we may be doing eventually here before the event. Why? Because I know how many people we can fit in the seminar. So with that, thank you, Dave. Thank you for being on this call and taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. And everyone, I hope to see you in Los Angeles on November 4th, 5th, and 6th. We have a huge crowd, almost 300 people already coming, and you can be one of those people that takes advantage of this event and the knowledge we present to you for 3 full days. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dave. And we'll talk to everyone on Thursday with Jim Edwards. Everyone have a great night. Bye-bye, everybody.